5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for coming and actually staying until now. I know it's the 6th talk and it's the 3rd day, but I also know that we have some newcomers. So, hi, my name is Eleftheria. I'm coming from Greece. I also know that my name is a little bit difficult to pronounce it, so if you can't say Eleftheria, just go with Elef, it's fine. But as I said, I'm also coming from Greece. Have you ever visited Greece? Yay! I know a lot of Croatian people have visited. And yeah, fun fact, my name means freedom or liberty. So here you go, you are like the first minute in this session and you already learned something new, a new word. You can also follow me on my social media, or if you have any questions or anything, you can also reach me on my email. I will do my best to answer you. All right, and before we actually start with this presentation, I would like to ask how many of you are developers? Okay, great, most of you are. That's great. How many of you are designers? Okay, we have a few people. How many of you just didn't want to raise up your hand? Like maybe you're bored or something, okay? Yeah, every time there are a few people. Okay, cool. So we already had quite a few sessions about UX and UI, but since some of you are developers, and actually as far as I can see in this room, most of you are developers, we are going to start from the very, very simple things, and we are going to start from UI, user interface, UX, user experience, and DX, developer experience. You're going to see those definitions. So we are all in the same page, and then we will continue with some other tips, tricks, and how you can improve your products. Also, this talk is about people that maybe are working in a startup and they don't have a dedicated designer, or they want to create their own product. I know a lot of developers want to create their own product, or they have a designer in their company, but they also have opinions, and they want to back up their opinions. So I hope with this presentation, they will have better skills, and they know how to speak a little bit better and how to present their ideas a little bit better. We will see a lot of examples. We will start with some general examples, but then we will go to more specific ones. We will talk about the 10 usability heuristics, so you can think of that as 10 tips that you should absolutely have in your products or your applications. And in the end, we will have some quick tips and tricks about UI, UX, and DX. Ready to start? Yes. Great, let's do this. First example. How easy or hard is it to wash your hands? How easy should it be to pick a floor on your elevator? And as I was searching for examples, there were actually many of them with elevators. Yeah. And also sometimes with rooms, like finding your room in a hotel or something. But there were also some examples of, like, I don't know what to say about this. And you probably all have seen something like this, like how hard is it to set a password or reset a password? Like there are always so many rules. And I also hope you're young enough and haven't seen something like that. But if you're not that young, you probably have seen something similar. Okay, now let's actually see some definitions. I will be quick here, I promise. We will start with UX and UI, and then we will move on to DX. What we are also going to do differently in this session is that we are going to see those terms both from the perspective of the developer/designer and the perspective of the user. Because sometimes other things that developer will think and the user will understand something else. Let's start from the perspective of the user, as is a little bit more easy. So user interface is what the user interacts with a product. what they tap on or click on, and the whole experience is localized in a device. So for example, they're holding their app, or they're holding their laptop, or another machine, and that's it. Now, the user experience is how a user interacts with a product and how they feel when they are interacting with our product. And this time, the whole experience is localized in their physical body. So if they're holding their phone and they're using an app, if they're smiling, probably something nice is happening. If they are frustrated, or you can see that in their face, probably something bad is happening or something not so pleasant. Let's move on to the developer's perspective, and let's see again UI and UX. Now, let's start with an analogy. We can all see from the very far distance a big iceberg, but what we actually see is only the tip of that iceberg. What we don't see is that there is a huge icy mountain underneath that holds everything together. There is also the cold atmosphere, the cold weather that holds everything together. Now, if we transfer this to our world, the user interface is what you can see and interact with, but the user experience is what you see alongside with what you don't see and what holds everything together. I hope we got that, and we are ready to continue with DX, the developer experience. And this is a little bit different because this time the user is the same person with the developer. And the thing here is how the user / the developer interacts with the technical product. So the key word here is the technical product. And when we are saying interacting, this can have two meanings. It can be interacting like they're using an API, or they're creating a program, a service that another developer is going to use. So this time, we have two roles. Let's see some other examples. I will start with one that I found on X, or Twitter. It's coming from Victor, and by the way, if you're looking for cool tips and tricks about UX and UI, you can follow him. He has some great examples. So he tried to upgrade to Cloud, only to find out the issue you can see in the first part of the image. And then, Pro Plan unavailable in his country, but he didn't know that when he was starting. This is a big UX failure, and we are going to see more examples like this, but we are also going to talk about solutions. Now, the rest of them are examples that I recently had and have seen very recently. And this one, is from ChatGPT 3.5. Why? What's the conversation here? What is it talking about? Unable to load conversation. What is this conversation? I'm pretty sure I didn't create this conversation. Yeah, or how difficult can it be to fix your UI design these days? Having a responsive system is one of the first things that we are trying to do, but I don't think this time McAfee nailed it. Can you find the issue here? Well, these days, we don't call it Twitter, and it has changed. The icon has changed. If you want to be professional, you have to call it X, and you have to have the correct icon. And that's why I also kept the date, so you knew it's not something old. It's something that, again, recently happened. We also have another issue here. This time, you have to read through the lines to find the issue. It's not something visual this time. I'm going to help you a little bit. Cashback is only eligible for a new user purchasing his first gig. We don't have his these days. And if you think that the user logged in and it's his, it's not. That was on my laptop. I'm here, and I didn't log in or anything. Okay, this is one of my favorite examples with passwords. Let's read what's wrong here. So password must be between 12 and 512 characters and contain at least one alpha character. Passwords shorter than 20 characters may not have 3 or more repeating characters. Yeah, okay, all right. Another thing which is coming from Google Slides, I use Google Slides quite a lot, but I wouldn't say that they are perfect or again, Google nailed it. No, I tried to upload something and I got that error message. It says one or more image or video formats are invalid or unsupported. So I have questions. Did I try to upload one image, more images? Did I try to upload one video or more videos? Were they invalid or were they unsupported? This message is quite general. I don't know what was wrong. And if it was an image, why did I try to upload a PNG and Google Drive cannot accept a PNG? Or did I try to upload an MP4 and Google Drive, they cannot take an MP4? I mean, it was something very, very basic, but I couldn't solve my issues. And I consider this a really bad UX. Again, it's coming from Google. We also have some other small issues here. Like, something is clearly missing here. We also had some other issues here. I don't know, they didn't test it or something. And these examples are pretty new. Okay, I also tried to, I don't know how many of you are using Mastodon, but I tried to upload a short video in my companies. I work at Crab Nebula. So I tried to upload a short video and I was getting that error 413. Am I supposed to know what this error is and how can I solve this error? I need more information, I need more details. And I'm showing you all these examples because sometimes as developers, we think that we have the perfect product, and sometimes we're very fast in using our own product that we don't see these small mistakes. And probably if you're going to test our products with our developer friends, maybe because they're also very experienced, they will not notice some things. There are some bigger things that they will notice, but some smaller things maybe they won't. So later in this presentation, we are also going to talk about finding real users to test your products. So now, what does a UX designer do or a UX team do? They solve real problems for real people. The key word here is real people. As I was just saying, because you are a developer and you have friends developers, maybe for you things are faster and easier, but you want real people. You may have your user personas, and that's okay, but even those personas should be based in real people. Don't go to your friends and ask their opinions because they will be biased. Probably they like you, and they will say, okay, yeah, you have a nice product. If you want the hard truth, I have a big tip for you. Ask your ex-partner, your ex-boyfriend, your ex-girlfriend, do you like this product? Or ask your mother-in-law, do you like this product? I'm pretty sure they will be honest with you. Okay, I also have this pyramid here, and the UX designer will do things such as user research and analysis, content strategy, information architecture, and more. I'm not going to get into many details. Let's continue with what does a UI designer do. And I have the same pyramid, so this time the UI designer will focus on interaction design and visual design. But I also have one more thing about UI design. A lot of times we think that UI is only visual, so it's only colors, maybe typography, yeah, and that's it. But it's not. It can also be audible. So we have these machines and we shout to them, or we simply talk to them, and we get results. This is UI. It's just a different type of UI. It's audible UI. And it can also be textual UI. This seems a little bit more simple. Probably all of you has used something like that. We don't focus here on iconography, we don't focus here on typography, we don't have fancy animations or anything. It's just text, and it does the job. That's it. So Again, what does a DX team do or a DX person do? And we had quite a few things here. They will really focus on writing technical documentation. This can include release notes, knowledge bases, user manuals, and everything. And I have here writing technical documentation, but it's actually not only writing. It can be other stuff like creating some videos, some YouTube content, going on social media and finding their group of people there, so talking with them and finding needs, solutions, getting feedback, all of this kind of stuff. And secondly, they will select the developer tools that their team is going to use and they will probably need. And just because your team is used to working with specific tools, it doesn't mean that they should continue working with these tools. And thirdly, something that it's very important, at least for me, is defining workflows. It can really save you a lot of time for you, and especially if you're working in a bigger team, having some workflows and working based on these workflows. And there needs to be someone that they will create those workflows. Now, the developer experiences roles, we can have different kind of things, but again, something that I really like is the example of Uber. So to be a developer experience person, you don't always need to be a developer, but there are other things like educator, technical writer, and more. And what makes a good DX, there are quite a few things here, which is actually not only for DX, but I believe it's UX and UI as well. So it's all about collaboration, speed, short feedback loops, high degrees of automation, low levels of friction, transparency, well-documented processes. And again, I'm pretty sure that all of you have feel these things, or you want to improve these kind of things in your company. Something that we have discussed quite a lot, and in this conference as well, is AI. I usually don't talk a lot about AI as I don't have a lot of experience with that. So I decided to do a Google search, because when I go to conferences, a lot of people will ask me about AI and how I feel about AI in DX, UX, UI. And what I concluded is that no, AI will not take our jobs. There are a lot of AI tools that can help us, because maybe as developers, we don't have a lot of experience with design. So yes, maybe we can use some of these tools, but always having in mind the final user, the end user. And one of the reasons that AI is not going to take over our jobs, at least right now or in the next few years, is because UX and UI have to do a lot with empathy. Empathy is a big world, and if you were this morning here, like Stephanie had an amazing talk, she talked a lot about empathy, and it's something that we should really, really think about. And if you feel that you're not very good with empathy, as Stephanie mentioned, it is something that you can practice and improve yourself. Okay, now let's actually go to the 10 practical tips. This is something very important, and they're not from me. They are coming from Jacob Nielsen and Don Orman. They were manifested in 1995, and we still follow these rules. If you don't know who Jacob Nielsen is, he is the pioneer or the father of UX. He studied engineer, and then he started working at Apple. He also did a master's in psychology, and what he did differently from everyone else in his field is that he observed how people interact with technical products. And before him, yes, there were technical products, but you had to have some knowledge to use those products. But he observed how simple people, like people that don't have a technical background, can use those products. And with his findings, he started working at Apple and improving Apple's products. Let's start. Number 1, visibility of system status. People love to feel that they have things under control. So imagine taking out your phone. The first thing that you will see is probably the time, the date, your notifications, probably an image that you have on your phone. And now imagine someone taking all of these things away from you. How would you feel? Like, maybe kind of naked? Like, where's the time? Where's the notifications? Keep in mind a similar approach for your product. People want to see the basic things. They don't need everything, but they still want the basic things. They should be easy to find. They should be easy to get discovered. Next thing, match between the system and the real world. People presume how an application is working based on the experience that they already have from other applications. So don't try to change everything. You can actually even help them with having similar actions as we have in other products. For example, copy and paste. They were everything in the same way. You don't have to change copy and paste because people already know that. Or if you have a compass, people know what this icon will do. If you have a bin, people will know what this icon will do. Don't try to change everything. Yes, innovation is good, but keep some standards. And we will talk about standards in a bit as well. The third rule is user control and freedom. Every system should have a clear emergency exit button. Because again, if you have a perfect product, the users maybe will misclick something, maybe they are in a hurry, maybe they just didn't pay a lot of attention, so they will make some small mistakes. Always have an exit button, a back button, an undo button, something like that. So always your user can go a step back and they can think again of the next action that they want to do. Now, the fourth rule is consistency and standard. Just because something different, it doesn't mean that it's also useful. Keep some things always the same in your product. If you have a delete action, always use the same word. For example, delete, not delete and then erase. If you have an icon of a bin, always use the same icon. If you have like a couple of colors, always use this sage of these couple of colors. Don't try to change everything. And I know that you have heard those things before, but trust me, there are a lot of products, a lot of apps these days that they still don't have these basic principles. The fifth rule is error prevention. And I talked a little bit about errors, but let's see them again. There are two kinds of errors. There are the slips and the mistakes. When you have the slips, this is the, let's say, the easy part, because as we saw in the third rule, you will have the emergency exit button, so people can go back and their mistakes, their slips will be done. But also you have the mistakes. Okay, this is a problem because it means that your users are making mistakes because they cannot figure out how to work in your product. So then you have to go back, work with your company, work with your developers, or even work with your users to find out what is not working. This is much harder, first to figure out what it's not working, and then how you will solve it. But again, it's really, really important. The sixth rule is recognition rather than recall. We have two types of memories. It's the recognition and recall. Recognition is when you see something and you can easily figure out what's going on, but recall is when you have to go back in your memory chunks and think of things like dates. We usually cannot remember dates. I have to recall a date. But if I had a search bar with dates and maybe some, I don't know, other things near them, I could easily figure out what is this date or how I can use this date. So especially if you have a search field or something like that, use some elements that will help your users find things out much faster. And Coursera has an example that I really like. This photo is a little bit old, but if you go today in Coursera, you will find a very similar design. So you have your images, you have some colors, and you can easily figure out what you want. There are always ways to help your users. And your users shouldn't think you should provide everything for them before they even ask them. Another rule that I really like is flexibility and efficiency of use. Hopefully, you will have a lot of users, but not all of your users will have the same tech skills, let's say. You will have the first-time users, you will have the users, the power users, which means that they will know pretty much everything, and you will have the users in the middle. Try to provide something for everyone. The first-time users, probably they will need some extra help. Maybe they will need some tooltips to see what's going on. But from the other hand, like the power users, they definitely don't need those things. Maybe they want connectivity, so to connect your app with another app. Maybe they want some shortcuts to do things fast and reliable. And of course, you have, as I said, all the people in the middle. Maybe your developer friends can use your app pretty quickly and pretty fast, but if you give the same product to your grandmother, something like that, probably she cannot use it that fast. And this is actually a good test. Try to give your product to 3 different kind of peoples and see how fast they will use it. Ask from these 3 people to do the same task. Will they complete it as fast and as easily as the one that is very good with tech? Probably no. The 8th rule is aesthetic and minimal design. I have here a couple of tips. I have here some strong opinions as well. I have seen a lot of websites. I have seen a lot of products, and I see sometimes people try to put everything in just a website or in just one portfolio. They have a lot of animations, they have a lot of designs, they have some special typography, some fancy icons. And in the end, like the user that is coming to their website, they cannot understand like anything. And I have seen that especially with some typography. They have some really nice calligraphy, typography, but in the end, I cannot read what they are writing. So if I had to give here a couple of tips, the first one would be to stick to some simple colors. If you're not at least a designer, keep like 2-3 colors, and that's it. Don't try to combine all the colors that you know. Maybe white and black, or maybe white and blue, and just stick to something like that. And the other tip that I would give is to have a bigger font size. We're not teens anymore. Like, as I can see here, you're not teens anymore, I'm not teen anymore. I need a bigger font size. My eyesight is not that good, just give me something bigger, okay? Okay, let's move on to the 9th rule, which is help users recognize, diagnose, and recover from errors. We already talked a little bit about errors, but a better practice is to always show that error, so recognize that error, and then present a solution to that error. For example, as I showed you earlier with Google Slides, if I knew what image I tried to upload, then maybe I could try to convert it to something else and upload it again. If I knew what's wrong with my video, then I could upload the correct form of video. And I didn't even know if I tried to upload an image or a video. And the 10th rule is help and documentation. Yes, try to have an amazing product. You should always try for that. But because, as we said, some people will make mistakes, or because some people are not very tech savvy, they will need help and documentation. You don't need something big or something fancy. And I would actually say that you should avoid technical terms and stuff like that. Keep it simple, keep it small, just give them some basic things, maybe some basic examples, and then if they want to more stuff, maybe you have a link, maybe you have a form that they can fill in to ask for more information. These were our 10 tips, and let's move on. Let me see. Okay, I will try to be quick here. Let's go with the do's and don'ts of UX. Then we're going to see DX, and in the end, we are going to see UI. So we will be quick here. Don't assume you know what a user wants. That's why you should find your users, you should talk with your users, and you should observe how they are using your products. Don't follow the hippo at the room, and the hippo stands for the highest paid person's opinion. So just because your boss is paying you, it doesn't mean that you should always follow them. Nope. Don't prototype or don't code too soon, even if you plan to test it. Do focus on what people do rather than what they say. This is 100% true, and you should really, really focus on that. That's why I said you should observe people. You should look how they are using your products. Don't overlook existing insight from customer care representatives. So if you have the chance to work with your support team, your support system, go and check what they are doing. This will be a very valuable lesson for you, because as a developer, you're maybe thinking that some things are working perfectly, but if you go to your support system, you will see some questions that you never imagined before. And I have some personal experience about that. That's why I mentioned it. As a developer, I thought that things were working and everything was fine. But when I checked our support system, I saw that many people had questions. And my job as a developer was to fix that questions. But if I had never looked at our support system, I would never have known about them, because for me, our system was working nicely. Do collaborate, you're not alone, and also our previous speakers, like especially in the morning, they did mention that. Go to your team, ask them questions, or sit down with another person and try to figure out something. Do find someone qualified to do your research. And now let's continue with the do's and don'ts of DX. The first one is document everything. We really, really want that. Something may be simple for you, but someone who is new to your company is not that simple. And we also have the reduced ramp-up time, which our previous speaker was also talking about, so I'm not going into details here. And don't overlook soft skills like empathy. Again, we talked about empathy, so I'm not going into details. Also, I'm a little bit in a hurry, so that's why I won't go into details. A quote that we have here, and I really like, it says, great DX shortens the distance between intention and reality. Intention and reality. Again, keep that in mind. Okay, and the last part is the good and the bad of UI. It will be like a quick test, and you can pick a side. From one side, we will see the good UI designer, and from the other side, we will see the bad UI designer, and you can pick a side. Okay, so the good one listens to everyone from decision makers, team members, and stakeholders, whereas the bad one judges and suggests solutions all the time. The good one questions the status quo and digs deep to find out real problems and needs, whereas the bad one follows the rule, we've always done it that way. Sounds familiar? Yeah, okay. The good one takes time and asks questions, where the bad one follows their assumptions. The good one is always uncertain about their understandings and designs, whereas the bad one is always certain about their work. The good one has many solutions and ideas, tries always to find issues and flaws in their work, whereas the bad one has only one idea and invests their time to pursue everyone that has the best idea. The good one loves working with others, revisits their thoughts, and has something to learn from everyone, whereas the bad one loves to work alone, tries to confirm their thoughts, and thinks they know everything. The good one loves to be wrong and seeks feedback, whereas the bad one loves to be always right and seeks praise. The good one leads, the bad one follows. That was it, guys. Thank you very much. I hope that you liked my presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I don't know how much time we have.
Right on time, you are right. Sorry. Right on time, but we will do one question.
Okay.
So, one question. Anyone? Come on. Come on, one question. She doesn't bite, come on.
Okay.
Robert, do.
Hi, yeah.
Shout. I'd just love to hear an example of really great customer experience, or something that you think is really like
I don't have like any product or service in mind, but what I liked is that when I can see in sites that they have maybe a chatbot or something, but behind that chatbot, they have also real people. So when you have a question and you cannot figure it out in their technical documentation or something, you will also ask the chatbot. It will not give you the right answer. So then there is a button and says, talk to a real person. And there is actually a real person, because also some companies have like 24/7, and it's not real. They don't really have 24/7. So yeah, if you have that 24/7, at least keep a person behind that. Thank you.